Hey everybody, it is May, and I'll bring you a review of Batman and Red Hood, issue 20, Shattered by Rage. I love this cover art. It goes into one of quite a few Red Hood mask cover arts. One of my favorites, come out very recently. So yes, Rage, second stage of grief, and so Batman's at the Batcomputer, and there's a little note that says, this will take place before Red Hood and the Outlaws 19. So yeah, he's at the Batcomputer. He's looking over some stuff, and he's looking at these people and deciphering what kind of guns they have, and Alfred is telling him that Carrie Kelly is back and wants to speak with him. So he comes out, and she tells him, asks him if he did something wrong. Damien drops off the face of the earth, and you drop an envelope filled with cash in my hand. They stare at each other, awkwardly for a second. And she then says, I see you're working on keeping your carbon footprint down. And he says, ask her, why was Damien taking acting lessons? Which he says, he said he wanted to see what it was like being someone else. Is that right? Yep. So she starts playing the piano and looking over the photos, and I guess the nickname for Bruce is Hobson. I don't know what that's in reference to. Probably Shakespeare, I'm guessing. But then he says, your services are no longer required, Miss Kelly. So he says, whose decision is that? He says, circumstances dictated it. And then she says, I want to talk to Damien. And freaking holds up a little picture of him. I know. So, and then you see Bruce makes up a terrible laugh saying, he's studying abroad for the next several years, seeing the world, doing things most 10-year-old boys only dream about. Which is, Damien never mentioned it. Which is, didn't realize you needed to approve our itinerary. But rest assured, I'll have him call you in a few days. I don't know how he'll do that, but so she throws a red little envelope full of money in his hand, and he says, you should be ashamed of yourself sending him away, because probably cramped your bachelor lifestyle. He was a great kid, and I'm using a great gig. So this money I gave you is for lessons I owed, along with not giving compensation, not giving notice. So then says, I pulled the 1,000 I earned, and the rest is yours. I don't take money for work I haven't done, Mr. Wayne. So then Titus comes over, and she started quoting Shakespeare again, about dogs, and Alfred says, Titus doesn't usually take to strangers very well. And she starts saying stuff about, her mother used to own a kennel when she was a kid, and, Titus needs some exercise. And, Great Danes were bred to hunt wild boar in Germany over 1,000 years ago. A nice combo of Irish wolfhound and English mastiff. Nice little trivia there, for this week that we did not exactly get in Batman as we did in the previous month. So, Bruce then says, Alfred can handle Titus and show you to the door. And as Alfred does that, he also quotes Shakespeare and mentions that to Carrie, saying, fan of Titus Andronicus. So, she liked the movie and blah, blah, and asked her if she would like a job, taking care of Titus for, 2 or 3 times a week, food and gas included. Absolutely. And I was like, what about Mr. Grumpy there? He says, no worries, his bark is worse than his bite. Then we cut to, I assume we're in Jason's room. Damien's room, and Jason, holds up the mask, that he had, taken from him, and reminiscing about, asking Bruce if he ever told him how he took it, and says yes, but it says, did I forget the results of the blood work test, blood workup? It says, yeah, no traces of gergotoxin, antidote worked. Alfred officially discharged me. I'm leaving tomorrow. It says, good to hear. Bruce says, before you go, come down to the cave. I want to show you something. And he says, showing him what he was looking over earlier in the beginning of the comic. There's this kind of small company donating a percentage of their bounties into a fund to procure high-tech surveillance weapons. They're always ahead of the curve. They're based out of Ethiopia, protecting politicians, state government who avert their eyes as long as they make regular deposits into offshore accounts. And opposing party is pulled from time to time, while aim nightscope and secret state-sanctioned freebies. Some of the shooters came hunting for Damien when Talia placed a $500 million bounty on him. I think it's time to show these bastards that targeting a 10-year-old puts a bullseye on themselves, and that killing isn't much of a living. And Jason says, you asking me to go with you? I'm like, yes, I am. Like, why? Like, because I'm seeing red. And he literally hands him his mask and guns. There, you can see that. He hands him 2 guns, holster with guns. So they're in Ethiopia. They're flying in the Bat car, the Bat wing. I guess is it still the Bat wing? If there is an actual Bat wing now, but yeah, they're flying in the Bat plane, and they drop off out of the Bat plane, and it becomes a car, and they send Batman shoots 4 flare missiles to alert them, so they can come out and they can face them one-on-one, and the car just comes crashing down. Jason is shooting out of the window of the car, and Batman says, hands, knees, and elbows. And Richard replies, nothing but. Because Jason he's essentially the marksman of the family. And then he says, Batman says, shocking off first, then a small man-made dust storm. To get out there, comlink, open, so we can talk to each other. So they're fighting the guys, and then he says, feels like old times, Batman says. And Jason says, thanks for the invite, just what the doctor ordered. And, I really love this. All of this, as I'm sure you know, I love Jason Todd, what, at least in last issue, Scott Lobdell wrote. But continuing on, he says, and thanks for being there after the Joker's little face mask surprise. And he says, you don't even need to thank me about that, Red Hood. Family always looks out for each other. Jason says, yes, but the family also needs to earn each other's trust. Batman says, comes a time when having to keep earning someone's trust stops. And you hope the people you put your faith in will always be there when you need them. It will always have your back. Batman, where did you go? And freaking we see crosshairs are on Jason, and then it pops up, Batman pops up, and you see his eye. And he says, no matter what. And he freaking grabs the guy that was about to shoot Jason, and he tells him, I brought special gloves for you all today. Grabs him by both wrists, and Jason's still shooting up people, and he says, your days of pulling triggers and killing innocent people are over. The nose in your hands will never function again. And he's like, please, please stop. You know, he's like pleading with Batman. He says, I don't care. You and your scum traveled thousands of miles to my city and put crosshairs on a 10-year-old child from 3 football fields away. And for what? Money? I suggest you use your chin to radio a request a medical evac for all your buddies who won't be able to pick their noses anymore. So, damn. Batman disabling people. Freaking straight out of The Dark Knight. No longer will they be able to use their hands. So, freaking knees, hands, and elbows here with Jason. So, they're all effed up. But yeah, Jason is in the car. You know, it says done as his gun is still smoking. And Batman, you know, swoops down, you know, and says, you know, never. Let's go. So they drive off. And then we see it's dark. You know, the stars are at night. You know, I love how Gleason draws the stars in nighttime and stuff. It's really awesome. I really do like how he draws Jason Todd in Red Hood, also in the comic. And you know, he says, you know, where are we going? You know, and just Batman says, you know, just over these next rise of dunes. You know, and just like, where are we, Bruce? I know we're in Ethiopia. I can read a GPS, but where in Ethiopia? And he's saying, you know, the Amygdala Valley, you know, where Jason died. And we see a little flashback, you know, and he says, if I close my eyes, I can still smell the coordinate in the air around the ruined warehouse on that bright, horrible day. Your body already cold to the touch. And you see a very sad Jason already. He's, you know, you lied to me. This wasn't about taking down those mercenaries. You wanted to bring me here to the worst place in the world. Here I was starting to believe all that crap about trust and faith. It says the killers were the mission. This was about something else. You know, something I couldn't ignore. I thought bringing you here could jog your memory, maybe retrieve a detail buried deep within your subconscious that could help piece together how you came back to life. So, and Jason finishes the sentence by saying, could apply it to bringing Damien back. I get it. But did it occur to you that I might like keeping whatever the hell happened to me buried deep? And they freaking go at it, yelling at each other, freaking, you know, I don't want to remember a horrible day of my life. You might like wallowing in tragedies, Bruce, but I'm done looking back. You know, if you cared about me, blah, 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 you want to erase, you want to drudge up the worst days of my life, you can give me the greatest gift of all, to bring my son back. And, you know, oh yeah, what about me? About knowing that, okay, my entire life in the new as a Joker, the clown hated everything, the good, the bad, hell, my life's even been tamed by you. And he says, you know, don't ever say that. It's not true. And he said, no, well, then why are you making me stand in the exact spot he beat me to death? Well, I'll tell you why. I'm always, because I wanted to watch Damien grow up, damn it. You know, so, I'm seeing that there's a lot of damn it's, you know, being put into Batman's vocabulary in the comics recently. And, you know, I think it's kind of, I don't know, if this really fits into the continuity of Jason Todd with the whole Outcast thing, you know, being able to commune with the darkness, because, you know, I know it's supposed to be about rage and stuff, but I mean, like, what was Jason really going to drudge up, you know, what was going to jog his memory, like, what detail that really going to help him, you know, try to bring back Damien? I mean, does he not know that the Lazarus Pit is what, if the Lazarus Pit's in the New 52? I mean, I don't know what's going on here, but, you know, I really love, like, the beginning of this with, you know, Jason and Batman fighting together, you know, as you know, issue 19 of, Red Hood and Outlaws is my favorite issue. I loved it. That's exactly what I wanted to see happen, but, you know, with the next issue, his memory's being lost, and now this, you know, it kind of ticks me off just a little bit, or actually a lot. I mean, it's still a great issue, but, you know, we're not even finished here, but yes, so Jason says, you know, take off that mask. I want to see your eyes, you know, I want to see the bat while I'm kicking your ass, I want to see the man, not the bat, while I kick your ass. So he says, alright, and, you know, he takes off the mask, you know, he says, you know, here I am, take a good long look, you know, I trained you better than that, come on, get up, hit me. You know, and Batman looks very, you know, God complex as he's, you know, has his hands out, you know, very reminiscent of Magneto, as a matter of fact, to me, you know, which I think is very cool. You know, and then Jason gets up and says, like, your wish is my command, and he, you know, delivers, you know, 3 solid hits to Bruce, and, you know, he says, you know, I'm still standing, Jason, as he just kind of, you know, kind of wobbly there, and Jason then says, you know, I'm taking the car. Goodbye, Bruce. And he, vroom, you know, drives off, you know. That's kind of like what, you know, I said, you know, how I thought it would end, you know, in my envisionment of Bruce and Jason making up, you know, him stealing the car. So I also appreciate that part. And, you know, then we see a teaser for, yeah, you know who that is. You know, so next issue will be Batgirl and Bargaining. And a Freeze. Having his own comic. I'll probably pick that up. I actually like the Orange Lantern. So yes, still a great issue. You know, I'm a little complacent in places, as I mentioned before. So, but we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. You know. So, thank you guys for watching. Like this video if you liked it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, whatever I like that. Put down there. And tell me what you thought, you know. And, yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.